My shift at the McDonald's on Interstate 85 was never supposed to be exciting. It was just a routine job, taking orders, making burgers, and watching the clock tick slowly toward morning. The location was convenient, right off the highway, catering to late-night travelers and truckers who craved a quick meal. The night shifts were usually quiet, almost eerily so, but on this particular night, things took a turn I'll never forget. I was driving to work, the clock on my dashboard glowing 10:45 p.m., when I saw it. Just ahead, the flashing lights of police cars and ambulances cut through the darkness. The wreckage of a brutal crash was strewn across the road, the twisted metal of a passenger car crushed beneath the towering frame of an overturned semi-truck. The road was slick with rain, reflecting the chaos of emergency lights. As I slowed down to pass, I saw the paramedics working frantically, the firemen cutting into the mangled car with the jaws of life. It was clear that some of the drivers hadn't made it. A chill ran down my spine, but I had to keep going. I pulled into the parking lot of the McDonald's, the bright neon arches casting a warm glow that felt strangely out of place given what I had just witnessed. The first few hours of my shift passed uneventfully. A few truckers came in, grabbing their coffee and sandwiches to go. The drive-through was quiet, with only the occasional car passing through. Around 2 a.m., a storm rolled in, the rain pounding against the windows, the wind howling like a distant freight train. I was in the middle of refilling the fry station when I heard the drive-through bell ring. Odd, I thought, since I hadn't seen any headlights approaching. I put on my headset and greeted the customer, but there was no response. Just static. I shrugged it off, thinking it was a glitch, and went back to my work. A few minutes later, the bell rang again. This time, I saw him. A man was standing at the drive-through window, drenched from the rain. He wore a faded flannel shirt and jeans, his hair matted against his forehead. There was something off about him, a sense of stillness in his movements that didn't match the urgency of the storm around us. "Can I help you?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "Just a couple of burgers," he said, his voice barely audible over the rain. "I'm hungry." "Sure, I'll have them ready for you in a minute," I replied, punching his order into the system. As I handed him the bag of food, he looked at me, his eyes dark and unreadable. "Thanks," he said, then turned and walked away into the night, disappearing into the sheets of rain. I watched him go, my heart pounding. Something about the encounter left me uneasy. The rest of the night dragged on, the minutes stretching into hours. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. Around 4 a.m., as the storm began to let up, I decided to take a break. I stepped outside, the cool air washing over me, the silence of the highway unsettling. I wandered toward the edge of the parking lot, drawn inexplicably toward the site of the crash. The wreckage was still there, the emergency vehicles gone, leaving behind a haunting tableau of twisted metal and shattered glass. And there, standing at the edge of the wreckage, was the man from the drive-through. My breath caught in my throat. He was staring at the crushed passenger car, his back to me. I could see the faint outline of his figure against the dim glow of the streetlights. He turned slowly, and for a moment, our eyes met. His face was pale, almost translucent, and his eyes, they were dark, deep pools of sorrow. He lifted his hand in a slow, deliberate wave, and then he was gone. He didn't walk away, he simply vanished, as if the night had swallowed him whole. I stood there, my mind racing, my heart pounding in my chest. It dawned on me then, the realization chilling me to the bone, he was one of the crash victims, a restless spirit unable to leave the place where his life had ended so tragically. I hurried back inside, locking the door behind me. The rest of my shift passed in a blur, the shadows in the restaurant seeming to dance and shift in the corners of my vision. By the time morning came, I was exhausted, both physically and mentally. I never saw the man again, but the memory of that night stayed with me. The Interstate McDonald's, with its 24-hour lights and steady flow of travelers, became a place of eerie fascination. I continued to work the night shift, always with a wary eye on the drive-thru, and a silent prayer for the souls lost on that lonely stretch of highway.